Thank you very much, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. Issues dominating discourse at Anambra, off-cycle election coming soon. And we have already guests who are ready to discuss these issues. Well, in the studio, in no particular order, is Ezenwa Nwagu, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, who also is a birthday boy. Congratulations. Happy birthday to you.
That was yesterday.
Yesterday, right.
I didn't bring the cake.
So you're welcome. Good to have you again. All right. And who's next is Mazi Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. Jide Ojo.
He's also celebrating 35 years of
Is it 35 years?
35 years.
25 or 35?
35.
Wow.
35.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
It's a pleasure.
Mazi.
Mazi, you're welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the title. One Nigeria.
And also joining us via Zoom from Gogolada in the FCT is Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu, researcher, political scientist, and public affairs analyst. We thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, let's kickstart our conversation. Gentlemen, we've listened to the background report there, and we're looking at issues that, should dominate discourse at this off-cycle election. Let me start with you, Ezenwa. What has been your observation so far concerning this coming election in Anambra State?
Well, I think Anambra, for me, has been very much known for low turnout. It's never exceeded 30. It's never come to 30% at any point in time. And especially the last governorship election, I think was around 21% turnout or so. I can't clearly remember. So, and so my investment in understanding that would be to find out what has always been the challenge, and I am hoping that the current trend of events can trigger, much more participation than we have seen in the past.
Okay.
Because it looks like it's a bit more competitive, even if not in terms of issues. Nigerians like gbas, what they call gbas. They enjoy if you make your campaigns completely cerebral in a place like Anambra, you might lose the people. But this Ekunife Soludo engagement is also in a way some kind of catalyst to see whether there will be much more interest. But in terms of what it will mean for the people themselves, at the end of the day, they will be shortchanged by not having something to track. You can't track insults, and you can't track, vituperations and such other mudslinging that we have seen. So, but if we're able to get a situation in which the coming days there will be some kind of town halling where people can sit down and say, this is what I want to do for education, this is what I want to do for infrastructure, this is what I want to do for the different issues that the everyday Anambrarian contends with. I think that will be helpful. I know that the siege mentality that was 2021 is not there anymore. Okay. In terms of what the IPOB and such other groups, the kind of interest they took in the last election, it doesn't appear that exists. So you are going to have a much more conducive.
Totally, or it's just like it's reduced?
It has to be reduced. First is that in some sense there has been some deep interest in making sure that the place is a bit safe.
Okay.
You know, in terms of kidnappings, shootings, cult-related activities. But the siege mentality that I talked about was really, really fierce.
Yeah.
If you were part of the Anambra of that election of that period, where you're on radio, some of us who had radio programs in Anambra, you were insulted and then threatened that, and then when you got to Anambra, you saw that the number of security agencies outweighed the number of people who were coming to vote. So, but I don't think that. I think there's a relative peace in the town, and I hope they can take advantage in the state, that they can take advantage of it to cast their votes, and also not just only casting their votes, but centralize issues that have to do with the well-being of the greater percentage of Anambranians.
Okay.
Well, so it all boils down to fear. That's why they're not coming out to vote. Now, let's bring in Jide Ojo into this conversation. Why does the Anambra election matter so much? Not just for the Southeast, the state, but for Nigeria itself. We have a new man at the helms of affairs at INEC. It's a litmus test for him, don't you think?
Yeah, thank you, Juma. Good morning, Nigerians. It's a litmus test for Professor Joash Ojoamukpetan. I don't know whether it will have been confirmed and will have been inaugurated by November 8th, but be that as it may, there's an acting chairperson in the person of Mrs. May Agbamuche Mbu, who will, in the absence of Professor Amukpetan, will stay coordinate the affairs. And by the time Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was exiting, bulk of the work has been done. It's barely 3 weeks to the elections. I think they should be talking about training of ad hoc staff, or concluding the recruitment of ad hoc staff, then training, and then deployment. But nothing new for Anambra to offer. One thing that I think Anambra has been in the news, if you recall, from 1999, Anambra people have shown political dexterity of sort. You remember in 1999 we have Umba Dineju as the governor, who didn't win a second term. Was booted out to the extent that even his party did not give him a re-election ticket because of his woeful performance, or supposedly woeful performance in his tenure. He had to go to AD to contest in 2003, and that was when Ngige came in. And of course, you remember the Ngige
saga.
Peter Obi, Chris Uba, Chris Ngige, Godfather Godson, which dovetailed into litigations that eventually got Peter Obi his stolen mandate, and then Peter Obi did 8 years, and Obiano did 8 years, and now we have Soludo. Whether people will reward Soludo with a re-election, left to be seen. But Anambra gave Nigeria, if the history of off-cycle governorship election in Nigeria started in Anambra. So because of the issue of tenure of the governor, when Peter Obi came in, when Ngige was removed by the Court of Appeal and Peter Obi came in, and Peter Obi also faced impeachment, reinstatements. Anambra also gave us the first acting governor, female acting governor. So Anambra is one thing about Anambra politics, which is very interesting. Anambra State is known as a state of commerce and a state with the highest number of billionaires in Nigeria. Highest number of billionaires. According to estimates from 2 years ago, they have over 300 people who are billionaires. And some of these people are not politicians, but they can spend their last kobo to prevent somebody they don't like to emerge. You know, they are just... So when it comes to issue of money or money politics, they do not spare resources to support. But you see, one thing that the dynamics that have changed, which Chief Ezenwa talked about, is that unlike in the last election where election could not hold in Ihiala and one other local government, Udemile, Ihiala, we may not see, because of the very prominent, that was when we were having sit at home, when IPOB was still very powerful, and the military had to be deployed to support the civil authorities to conduct the elections. The situation has been very calm now. And if you also look at what Professor Charles Soludo as governor has done in terms of security, since the beginning of this year, he has given the security agencies some support to be able to deal with issue of insecurity. Kidnappers have been rooted out. If you are caught involving kidnapping, your house will be pulled down. Then some of those juju priests who are doing charms for were all rounded up. And from what I learned, the governor said, "You said you have chance to make people disappear." So you are under arrest. If you are able to disappear, we will not look for you. So we will know that your charm is protected.
So they didn't disappear.
But we don't know of any who has disappeared. But that's just on a lighter note. The most important thing is that INEC has its work cut out for it. All eyes will be on INEC. And the dynamics of Southeast is coming. One thing about Anambra, too, which you must not fail to mention, is that that's the only state where All Progressive Grand Alliance has held sway since the time of Peter Obi. From Peter Obi down to Willie Obiano, down to Soludo. That is the only state that All Progressive Grand Alliance have jealously protected. We do not know whether the inroad that APC has made in the recent past, remember, we now have people like Chris Ngige in APC. We have Ifeanyi Ubah that died, who was also nursing governorship ambition, has already crossed to APC. Nicholas Ukachukwu is the governorship candidate of APC, was previously in other parties, PDP and all of them. But what I see with the forthcoming Anambra election is that it's going to be a two-horse race between the APC and the ABGA candidate. Incidentally, when you look at the national politics, ABGA and Soludo has adopted President Tinubu for 2027. So, and Soludo claimed that he and President Tinubu had been friends for over 20 years. So, issue of would there be federal might backing the candidate of APC in Anambra, or will the presidency just say it's a local stuff, deal with it? I don't want to be. Right. Okay. We will all see that panning out in the coming days.
All right. Okay. We'll see what will pan out in the coming days. Let's bring in Dr. Abu Hamisu into this discussion now. Dr. Hamisu, how much could you say the activities now, the campaign, and also the discourse? You know, how would you describe what is happening in Anambra State right now concerning the off-cycle election?
Well, I think we are getting closer and closer to a situation that we always pray for, in Anambra State. And what is the situation we usually pray for? We always pray for peaceful, credible elections that reflect the wishes of the people of Anambra State. Remember before now, in 1999, we have the influence of the Godfathers who decide everything, and they are the voters, they are the people that conduct primaries, they are the people that conduct the main election to select those that represent the people of Anambra, whether the people of Anambra likes it or not. And that brought a situation, and that situation was the infighting that ensued between the Godfathers and the Godsons in Anambra State. And then that brought the former governor, Peter Obi, to power in Anambra State. I think starting from Peter Obi to Willie Obiano down to Professor Charles Soludo, you could say that the people were able to wrestle the powers that were wielded, albeit illegally, by the Godfathers that turned Anambra State upside down, giving the state a bad name, where a sitting governor was abducted in a broad daylight, and nothing happened up to this moment. Nobody was prosecuted for that. So you could see that the trajectory is moving towards peaceful conduct, where the aspirants could go to the people with their programs and then campaign vigorously to be elected. So for me, it is a positive trajectory away from the violence that we used to witness, holding the state hostage, and then all the things that are bad that are associated with politics in Anambra State. So it is a welcome development that up to this moment, the people have faith in the democratic process, and they are leveraging that particular process to elect those that will represent them, which is a positive development. So I'm not thinking of anything negative right away with what we've seen and with what INEC has done. It is a national template. I remember we had a heated debate one certain time with my brother Ezema Mwabu, when I referred to our political parties as briefcase political parties that are becoming more of NGOs. And he said, no, that the number of political parties does not matter because it will assist to open the democratic space. And I was of the opinion that the list of political parties at that point in time were so long, and that we need to reduce them. So that we have 16 candidates today in Anambra State is because they have faith in the process. As at the time that the Abga revolution started in Anambra State, nobody gave Abga any chance, because that was the period that federal might was deployed to muscle people, institutions, and to give fair advantage to the ruling party. But the people stood their ground, they stood their guard, and today that is gradually paying off. So what we're looking out for is that peaceful atmosphere where every Anambra person that have come of age and has attained 18 years of age could move out of their homes freely to vote. And that is exactly what we want to see in this country. Before now, we don't even believe that any small party could win election in Nigeria. Nobody gave Labour Party a chance in FCT because most people thought that it is the big parties, the so-called big parties, that will win the senatorial election. But again, LP surprised people. You go to Nasarawa State, where you have Social Democratic Party winning an election. At that point in time, nobody felt that Social Democratic Party could win election. What this is telling us is that our democracy is maturing. In Kano, people thought NNPP could not win election because of the incumbency factor and federal might. But that did not come to pass. So what we are saying is, once the polity is configured in such a way that people can vote and their vote will count, I don't think that people will not have faith in such a process. So Anambra State is exactly what we want to see, so that whoever, if the people feel that Professor Charles Soludo has done excellently well and he deserves to be rewarded with a second term, so be it. If they feel otherwise, that he has not done well and they want to change him, so be it. So one of the things that democracy has guaranteed is peaceful change and transition. And once you cannot have it, you can't call it democracy, and elections become selection.
Abdul Rahman Amisu, I'm going to stay with you. Can you just, Anambra has set precedents in the history of politics in Nigeria, like Jide Ojo noted, and our background report also noted. But according to our background report, the opposition seems fragmented, sort of. So how significant, is this unity between the other parties in determining the outcome of this election? And how can you assess, the Governor Soludo so far, what he has done in Anambra State? Will it give him a leverage to win this election? What are your thoughts?
Well, we are actors, interested parties that are outside Anambra State. We rely on what the people of Anambra State are saying, and based on what the governor has done so far, you can't but appreciate him. There are indices that you could use to measure what a governor is doing. But again, our own indices could be quite different from what the people are looking for. It is in this country that people were talking about infrastructure and some other persons were talking about stomach infrastructure. And they overwhelmingly voted for stomach infrastructure. So it is not surprising, because democracy is a crazy thing. People could, because of animal rights, decide to vote out somebody or vote in somebody. So that is how it is. But in terms of security, in terms of violence, there are platforms that people are celebrating that in the last 3 months or 2 months, that guns have been silent in Anambra State, which means that the people are concerned about peaceful conduct, and that the usual gunshot that is being heard in Anambra State is an aberration, and people are concerned about that. And they're celebrating that for the first time in the history of Anambra State, the guns have gone quiet for some time now. And they credited the governor for that. They credited the governor for infrastructure. They credited the governor for the action he has taken. But people will think that it is brutal when they said, if you are caught, if your house has been used to house kidnapped victims, your house will be pulled down. In fact, they particularly celebrated his handling of one of the marabout that was notorious for preparing charms for criminals. And Aka Okuko, they called him. And people were very, very happy with what he did. By ensuring that he uprooted him, because people felt he was not touchable and he could continue to do what he's doing. And so if you look at it critically, for the fact that he's able to stabilize Anambra State, he was able to provide infrastructure, he is tackling insecurity headlong, and the people are happy. And then they are saying that his second term is guaranteed. We hope that his second tenure is guaranteed, because you cannot bring in somebody who have not been tested, who does not equally have the will to act, to replace somebody who is already acting and doing what he needed to do. So I'm not saying that if the people of Anambra State feels that he has not done well, he should not be replaced. Coming to the unity among political parties, you see, the most important thing is peace in Anambra State. And I want every politician to borrow a leaf from former President Goodluck Jonathan, who says that my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And he lived by that dictum, and it saved Nigeria a lot of bloodbath when we're moving towards the handing over or the election that brought Buhari to power. And I'm sure that that one particular philosophy, if we abide by it as we've seen elsewhere, then Nigeria will be more peaceful. Even in the United States of America, there was a time election held between Bush and Al Gore. And what happened? Al Gore was popularly acclaimed to have won that election, but it was said that it was rigged in favor of the former president. And what did he do? He said, for the greater interest of America, he did not even go to court, as we used to say in this land and climb. He decided to just let it be for the sake of America. Even the current president of America felt that he won the election, but there was nothing he could do. He said for the interest of America, he was leaving. And even when he was leaving, he left a note for former President Biden to say that, I won the election. This is the spirit we want to see in Nigeria. First thing first, Nigeria first, the peace of our people first, before our ambition. So if we see it from this very particular perspective, that there is always a tomorrow. If I did not make it today, I can make it tomorrow. Then we will support the process and support whoever wins the election, and there will be peace, stability, progress, and development for our people.
So Abu Hamisu, first thing first, peace is important, and the blood of any voter is worth more than the ambition of our politicians. Okay, that is something that we all have agreed. Okay, okay, we just want to remind our viewers that you can contribute to this discussion by sending us your questions or comments via the phone that is displayed on your screen. Now, the two have agreed that, this race is going to be between maybe 2 political parties or 4 political parties. That is, we're talking about Abuja now, APC, PDP, and even LP. So from your own perspective, do you think the race is actually, this election is going to be between those 4 parties or the 16 political parties? And besides that, the INEC this time around have said they are going to deploy technology again. Do you think that will also help in, encouraging people to come out to vote, to cast their ballot this time around?
So, I'm much more interested in process than outcomes, and I've trained myself over a period of time to stay with process. The election is what makes election what it is that it is unpredictable. So the 16 political parties are equally footed to get into the government house. So what we will be interested in seeing is how much level playing ground is available for all the 16 political parties that have, that are going to be vying for that office. Number one, we are seeing very clear underhand engagement in terms of media and access to the media. If you go to Anambra, political parties are being asked to pay humongous amount of money to put up billboards. And it's running into, I hear, close to 50 million. That singular action is an attack on media access and visibility for everyone. So we need to challenge incumbency in its use of the media and not creating that level playing ground for every political party. So that's important for me to underscore. And the reason of doing that is that we have seen in Nigeria, in Imo State, for instance, at some point where the dominant political parties, out of their own internal issues, lost out to what you would call a marginal party at that time, PPA, the Ojuzokalo party of that period. So so we need to be a bit nuanced in how we also play, because there's also a thin line. No matter how much careful you are, you can advantage one party over the other through positive comments, which itself will be altruistic. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but you are in a period where people are looking for advantage, and somebody can take, you know, the views of a respected public commentator like Jide and take a small clip and say Soludo is the magic, and that is not. That's just what I think. But let us just piggyback a bit for Anambra. In 2021, the INEC the INEC state headquarters was touched. Half of the place was burnt down. That was a signal to the kind of violence that was unleashed for Anambra. So you have a different, they cutted, burnt, including, what do you call them, the beavers and the rest. So there was a reconstruction that had to take place. In fact, the whole of the state headquarters were condoned off up to the period of the election. Okay. So we are seeing a different scenario, which is helpful. And I don't want to agree that this is a litmus test for whether, if the nominee is eventually cleared. Okay. Elections, subnational elections, are as good as the resident electoral commissioner. Part of the challenge that we have is that our centralization of processes always makes us to give comfort to the real actors, the real folks who will be organizing this election are the resident electoral commissioners in Anambra State, the electoral officers in the 21 local governments, the SPOs, and the returning officers. We must hold them accountable for free, fair, credible election. Like my brother said, Jide said, what the headquarters needs to do is to deploy sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the place, provide all that is necessary for them to conduct that election. If you followed Ondo election, Ondo had a resident electoral commissioner that was on top of her game. And so in terms of process, you will see that the Ondo election process-wise was excellent. The shenanigan that took place was in the domain of the politicians, but not from the point of election administration. Okay. So I'm always interested in us holding those guys, because the chain of election manipulation is wide. He's not located in the 12 and 1 national commissioner in the headquarters. The chain is from the returning officers can cancel election where they think that somebody have advantage. They can't do that. And then when they do that, they hide, and then you start calling Abuja. You start saying INEC. We must start a situation in which we can hold people accountable in INEC. If we say Anambra election, can we play up the resident electoral commissioner? Who is she? She's a woman right now. What is that? Can we profile her? Can we begin to look at how she engages electoral administration and ask questions around her capacity, her competence, her professionalism, and her ability to deliver on that election? So when we talk of Omokputan or Mrs. May Agbamuche, the person who is doing the deals in Anambra would fold her hand and be having a good laugh at us because we are not touchlighting the activities. The EOs are critical. First, they can decide to train people, and Jide has been a long-time trainer from where he's coming from. You can train people. After training them, these EOs will remove them and bring in untrained people. And then you start saying that the beavers is not working. It is simply because some electoral officer who is in charge of a local government have decided to remove people who were trained and bring in. These are the little details in terms of understanding election administration. As we go into not just Anambra election, 2027 election, we should profile the resident electoral commissioners. We should look at their background. We should look at, because some of them, including those who we knew had partisan inclinations, were cleared by the National Assembly. We should spotlight them so that when they behave in a particular way, that brush will not be used to, tar the whole commission.
The whole commission, indeed. Holding them accountable is key. I will hear that our other guest from Oka, Anambra State, Chibunu Okoli Akrika, is on air now. We can see him. Good morning.
Thank you. I can help you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. You've been listening to the guests here in the studio, making their points on the Anambra election. Can you tell us what's the mood like in Anambra? What are the expectations? How is the campaign going? Just give an assessment of how it's going on in Anambra with expectations for the election.
Well, the truth is that the upcoming November election in Anambra State, will certainly be like another election. The politics is very tranquil. The people, the electorate are being energized and mobilized. The political parties are also upping their game. Simply put, I would say that the Anambra State, everything appears to be set for the election. All the political parties have been going about, playing in accordance with the rules. Apart from the unfortunate comment the incumbent governor made some time ago, regarding the academic qualification of some of the candidates and their personal details, I would say that generally in Anambra State, everything appears to be set, for the election. And the political parties are ready. In Abuja, we have the incumbent governor, Professor Charles Soludo, with his mantra of solution and oral take. For political party, we have the gentle giants, Dr. George Morgan, who has been preaching the political gospel of recovery agenda, which appears to be resonated with Anambrarians. For APC, we have Chief Nicholas Okachuku and the wonderful amazing lady, Senator Uche, preaching that Anambra State is broken and they are ready to fix it. Then for ADP, we have the gentleman there, John Wolshu. For YPP, we have the Debonnet and Open Paul Chukuma. So I would say that the Anambra electorate, is being presented with an avalanche of wonderful candidates to choose from. But at the end of the day, the problem begins and ends with INEC. And what is most prominent in the politics of Anambra State is not violence. What is most prominent in the politics of Anambra State is not preparation. There's that bad actor vote by. So I will say that what INEC should do now is to place a procedure that will minimize, that will checkmate, if possible, totally eliminate that evil act of vote by. Because by the time you have a situation where people vote, they ought to vote secretly. But they are now voting openly. And they now show the party agents or whoever is there for the political party who they voted for. And they go out there and they are settled. It's not in the best interest of our democracy. So I would think that the upcoming November 8th election, it will offer INEC the opportunity to correct that anomalous situation that encourages vote buying. That aside, I would say that so far, so good, in Anambra State, the political parties are there, the electorate are eager. INEC, I think also, is doing some good work because some days ago, precisely on the second day of October, INEC had an interactive section with all the political parties, Cuba candidates, state party chairman, state party secretary. And at that event, they told everybody that they are ready and prepared to conduct a free, fair, and transparent election. And to give vent to what they said, they distributed this, I think, the soft copy of a voter's register to the person that the parties and the candidates can now essentially target, those who have to decide to vote. So I would say that all together in Anambra State, the parties ready, apparently with the possible exception of PDP, that appears to be having some problems, with their candidates. They not it is personal. It is But it is personal, in particular to PDP. Other political parties are ready. The electorate are also ready. The security agencies, I think, they also they appear to be ready. So I will say that, everything being equal, though you know that in human affairs, things cannot be equal. That on November 8th, we are going to witness a free, fair election in Anambra. Provided INEC emplaces a procedure that will reduce to the barest minimum the unfortunate incidents of vote buying.
Okay, Mr. Okrika, thank you so much for your remarks there. You are on ground in Anambra State. Can you tell us if the government is providing, or INEC is providing, a level playing ground for all political parties for them to be able to, carry out their campaigns peacefully?
Well, the truth be told, like I said before, so far, so good. INEC has been doing wonderfully well. Like I said before, in the last interactive section, they didn't show any partisanship. They didn't show any partiality. They treated all the political parties equally. Those that went, they gave out the soft copy of a voter service. So using that as a yardstick, I entertain no modicum of doubt that going forward, INEC will deliver. On the mandate. But like I said before, and I keep saying, what is most worrisome, based on experience and what just played out during the senatorial election conducted in Anambra South, is that unfortunate incident of vote buying. It's marring elections in Anambra State. That aside, for now, there is nothing, that will enable one to charge INEC with any act of partiality. No, INEC has not done that. In the course of training adult staff, they allow whoever shows some competence, whoever shows some interest to participate in the process of interacting with political parties. Like I said before, I didn't notice any act or element of partiality. While treating the different political parties, I want to not notice that. So going forward, I expect INEC to continue, in this trajectory. And if that happens, and they're able to checkmate vote buying on the 8th day of November 2025, I want to say, without missing words, that in the Anambra will go out there and exercise their franchise. We are known for that. We are the light of the nation. We shall continue to showcase that we are the light of the nation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Akirika, for your views there. At least you have assured us that the atmosphere there is peaceful so far, and there is a kind of a level playing ground for all political parties. Now, we have some comments from some of our viewers, which we would like to read out so that our guests can respond to them. This one is from Ahmed Baba Dikwa from Maiduguri. He says, instead of constantly denigrating INEC, the public should allow it to do its job. Our focus is misplaced. The real pressure should be on the politicians who flout INEC's regulations. Let's hold the rule breakers accountable, not just the institution trying to enforce the rules. Then this is from, my name is Ike, British. Is from a political scientist and criminologist based in Lagos. He said, I'm enjoying your good morning program. Sir, I would like them to tell us the extent to which the electoral reform has gone. Maybe, Jide, you want to respond to this before she reads out her own? Those two comments.
Well, electoral reform, as you know, is underworks by the National Assembly, and we are all hoping and praying that they will fast-track this so that it can impact, the implementation can start in earnest. But thus far, nothing new. The National Assembly just resumed last Tuesday. Okay. So they are barely 1 week from all their annual vacation. So they have committed that priority will be given to completion of constitutional and electoral reform. But that will not be in good time for the Anambra election that is just about 3 weeks away. And I agree with the man from Maiduguri who talked. You see, some of us who have worked with the commission as partners, sometimes when we defend, people thought we are bought over or that we are consultants and we have received gratification. The real challenge Nigeria faces today with the democratic consolidation is the political class. They are the ones that always seek opportunity to undermine the process. My colleague in Anambra, what is he telling you? Vote by. Who does vote by? Is it INEC that is involved in vote by? Who unleashes violence? Chief talked about the arson on INEC facility ahead of 2021 obstacle governorship election in Anambra. Who set INEC office ablaze? Is it INEC staff? Is it not the political class who wants to undermine the process? So, you see, many of us on in Nigeria, these INEC people, these INEC people. I'm not saying they don't have their blame. But you see, in every football game, it's a layman that blames the referee. You always look the convenient way out. INEC, by its own nature, has an internal mechanism to deal with staff that compromise. And we have seen that. Even President Tinubu surprised me this year. Did you know that 3 resident electoral commissioners who compromised who tried to subvert the election in 2023 have all been sacked? The one in Adamawa that went and announced election that he doesn't have the and he was a lawyer. He's a lawyer rather. He's a lawyer, and he knew. I didn't say that. He's a lawyer, and you saw the role of the returning officer. Now he's been shown the door. The one in Sokoto that compromised has been shown. The one in Abia that compromised. 3 of them have been released. Don't also forget that even the professor that helped to rig election in Akwa Ibom is also serving jail time. So there is that internal mechanism to deal with staff and management of the commission that compromise. I'm not saying there are no bad eggs. Out of every 12, there will be a Judas. But the political class, how many of them have been held to account?
That's a big question.
That's a big question. Because they are the one that has the resources. They will reach out and say, they will dangle resources you have never seen all your life. Depending on your role in the system. Like the returning officer now. Why does INEC always shield the name of the returning officer? Because they don't want them to be exposed. Because, and usually INEC will not appoint a returning officer from the state where the election is holding. So like this Anambra now, they might bring somebody from Kogi, they may bring somebody from Abia or from Imo to come and be the returning officer. And that's part of why INEC took, before 2010, it was INEC resident electoral commissioner that also doubles as returning officer. If you recall the Ayoka Adebayo saga in Ekiti State, but when Professor Jagake, he decided to take that responsibility so that he insulates the staff of the commission from that onerous task of being a returning officer. And that is why today they appoint an academic, a doctor, a professor, usually vice chancellors of the institution, to come and be the returning officer. And one other thing that I think innovation that this Anambra election would be a test case for is the operationalization of Section 65 of the Electoral Act. What does that say? That in the event of a wrong call, the law has also given INEC ability to review the election result. If there is a wrong call by a returning officer. Section 65 says within 7 days of holding that election, INEC administratively can review that. And now, before the exit of Professor Mamu Yakubu, they have now decided to come up with a guideline for how to do that. And the task has been given to resident electoral commissioner returning officer, and INEC staff that has to do with, when this guideline was issued early this year, people were saying, oh, they should give the candidates that road polling agent. But INEC knew what it was doing. If it gives the contestants opportunity to say, we want the result of this election reviewed, even somebody who did not win or who did not do well will seize the opportunity to stall the process. And that's why the commission, in its wisdom, decided that if there is a wrong call, like somebody making wrong declaration of result now, the resident electoral commissioner, the returning officer, because there is a possibility that the returning officer was put under duress. Somebody. Well, I don't know whether Adamawa was put under duress, but we have seen situations in Kano. There was a professor in Kano who was put under duress to make a wrong call in one of the house of rest where there was violence and killing, and the man was put under pressure. He made the declaration and said, this person won. I won't mention. But after he left the scene, he wrote to say, I made this declaration under duress. And INEC now declared that election inconclusive, and they had to go and do a supplementary election. Of course, the person who was declared under duress eventually won, but INEC has done its own work by declaring the result inconclusive. So the political class is whom we should appeal to. Okay. Because two major challenges we have with our election are violence and vote trading. Violence and vote trading. Take these two out. You will find that we can have peaceful, credible election. And let nobody be under the impression that it's only INEC that can guarantee credible elections. There are multi-stakeholders involved in the electoral process. Security agencies, what would they be doing? They have to help the commission in terms of deployment, in terms of making sure that they secure the environment of the election. The judiciary, if there is a wrong call, who makes election adjudication, or what we call election dispute resolution? It's the judiciary. The National Assembly, we are calling on them to fast track the electoral reform process. Jide. So all of this, we need to beam our satellite on the role each of them will be playing in Anambra, that if anything goes wrong, we know who to hold responsible.
Thank you very much today. Jide Ojo, thank you so much. We'll take a break now. When we return, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
You're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now, before I go to Dr. Hamisu, let me read some of the comments that came in so that he can respond to them. Let me begin with Arabika Inde Paul from Life Camp here in Abuja. He said, good morning, Nigeria. I am not surprised but disturbed by the trend of our elections campaigns, especially when issues are neglected but irrelevant matters take the center stage. I don't really care about gender percentage, but let candidates present their manifesto. Lastly, the low turnout can only be erased with accountability of candidates when elected. And another one said, INEC deploying technology in election in Anambra, will it work? It is what we have been hearing without seeing the benefit of it. Can that stop malpractice and manipulation? There is no name to that. Please, when you're sending your messages, send in your name too. And Chike Dim from Warri Delta State said, our nascent democracy has continued to thrive despite some encountered challenges in the process. Hopefully, it will get better. Anambra State off-cycle gubernatorial election is next in line. Presumably, it will be a two-horse race, this time between the incumbent ABGA and APC. Labour Party is no longer a force to reckon with after the recent internal wrangle that wrecked the structure of the party. We, the indigents of the state, are optimistic, but there will be free, fair and credible election devoid of crisis come November 8th in the state. We expect all and sundry to be in good conduct during the period of the election as we await who will be the next to take the mantle of leadership in the state, Chikedim from Warri Delta State. Dr. Hamisu, you're going to respond to this, and we've been talking about the big elephant in the room, and that is vote buying. And we all know that there's no election without that happening, even with arrests that we've seen in other off-cycle elections and other elections across the country. How can Nigerians, through awareness, be able to understand that vote buying takes away your rights as a voter to vote who you want to be voted into office? Okay. Yeah, we lost him there. So, if you can respond to that.
Well, this vote buying is a response to institutional reform. It's the politicians' response to institutional reform. Okay. So the monies that are taken to the voters used to be given to the electoral officers to bring result sheets and ballot papers to the homes of politicians where they are completed, and thugs are used to take the one that was printed by the people, and then you exchange it for the one that was printed in hotel rooms and homes. That's where we are coming from. Now, when this same INEC returned power to the voters in a way that even when unscrupulous INEC officials hawk solutions to politicians, the politicians now know that you have to come to the polling unit and vote. They decided to be taking the money to the voters. And INEC responded to these politicians again by saying, don't come to polling units, if you remember, with your phones.
With your mobile phones.
Don't come to the place with your mobile phones so that you don't snap what you voted. Then they said, okay, let us reconfigure the cubicles, the voting cubicles, in a way that it guarantees secrecy of the ballot. The politicians took vote buying away from polling units to accounts, to transfer, to POSs, to giving people power, giving them fuel. Go to a filling station, buy fuel, then come and vote. The incredible ingenuity, negative ingenuity of the Nigerian politician, we are not putting it out to our people to see. And that's the challenge that we have. So we give them so much comfort in the activities that they do in perverting free and fair, credible elections. Every response that you see, every attempt at guaranteeing free, fair, credible is subverted by the politicians. Let me tell you, if you talk about punctuality index, for instance, logistic challenges that you face, what do? They compromise the vendors, the transport vendors, and say, don't come.
Don't come.
INEC has finished paying the vendors.
It happened during the 2023.
Bring vehicles. Yes. The NURTW people will say, give us insurance. When you have collected money on the day of election, it is politicians playing their hands to make sure that they frustrate the process. So when those people who have been paid to do that job are stalling, they will provide
their own.
They will say, okay, let us carry the ballot. These things are known to everyone. They just do these things. Now, what do? For the security agents, because the nature of our election is that you have to escort these materials. If they penetrate that area, on election day morning, police will be doing marching. By 8 o'clock, they will be in their district doing marching. People who are supposed to go and escort materials, they will come to the polling unit by 9 o'clock. And you say, oh, INEC did not deploy. When Jide or myself say, this is what is happening, they say, no, you are defending INEC. Let us stop. These things, you have to engage it in a practical way to be able to understand the dangerous, very dangerous things that politicians are doing in our electoral process. The next thing they do is that they will not have party agents. They will not bring party agents to the polling unit or sufficient party agents. Because you are talking about technology. I'm responding to whether technology will work. So, election, broadly speaking, in Nigeria is manual. It's not technology. The infusion of technology is part of what this commission has done. But it does not take away the fact that after accreditation, which is done in a way electronically, every other thing you do up to results
is manual.
When this happens, you now get a copy of the results and give to the politician. His party agent will take, because we must re-emphasize this for people to know. You take a copy, manual copy, and hand over to a party agent. You hand over to police, security agents, 2 results. Before you now upload, even before that, what is uploaded is the form E60E. That one that is pasted on the wall for everybody to see. Right? You will have finished, upload it, then this presiding officer will snap a still photo
And send today.
and send to
The IRF.
a viewing. If you call it IRF, you confuse people. A viewing portal. Underline viewing.
Result viewing portal.
Result viewing portal, not collation portal. Now, the politician, through his agent, has his result in his pocket. He will keep that result in his pocket and then start shouting, they did not upload.
And he already has the
He
result.
has the result.
Or supposed to have the result, because
Even
you have
if-
a right to have a polling agent at
in
the
the
unit.
place. So if you don't have a polling agent, what I expect to see in Anambra and anywhere is for PDP, APC to call Jide, call Jumai, call Oga and say,
Jumala.
come to our district to come and see our results that we mined from our party agents represented in the 6,000 polling units in Anambra State. So don't talk about whether what is uploaded by INEC. Don't place emphasis on that. That is to enhance INEC's transparency and the integrity of their results. And for scholars and journalists and interested parties who want to see Anambra election later to go to this viewing portal and get these results. But the politicians, before you can upload anything, they should and ought to have their own results. Their indolence, their inability to have a collation process with which they can compare
Okay.
is the challenge that we have constantly faced in terms of technology. So you give the impression that you have a collation process that is real time. It is not real time. It is a viewing,
And
underlining.
it's not for collation.
It's not for collation.
All
It's
right.
not.
Okay.
It's
Thank
not
you.
electronic collation.
Thank you, Hazelwa. Thank you so much. Okay, let's just take this one more comment, and so that Mr. Okoli Akirika can respond to it. It says, "Good morning. Conducting an election in Anambra shouldn't be a rocket science. If all parties and the ref, which is INEC, play according to the rules and regulations, let people decide whom they want, not manipulating and forcing yourselves into power." Dr. Akirika, you want to contribute to the comment ongoing?
Yes, in all honesty, I agree with some of the comments. When we talk about the electoral process, I'm a lawyer and a politician, but I don't want to appear partisan in this discourse. When we talk about the electoral process, the Electoral Act and the various INEC regulations, have in place the procedure that ought to be followed. We cannot totally discount the importance or imperatives of technology. But in Anambra State, I don't think the issue of election collection, is so much an issue. Anambra State is noted for being very peaceful, before, during, and after elections. The most important problem or challenge facing the electoral process in Anambra State is that of vote buying or vote trading. So I want to say it for the opting time that INEC should, as a matter of fact, deploy so much energy to contain or checkmate that particular incident. Having said that, I don't think that I will have issues with distribution of electoral materials. Rather, we may have issue, going by experience, with timeliness in Anambra State, either because of the topography or some areas. Electoral materials from experience oftentimes get there so late. So what I need in this particular instance is to ensure that in those areas that are a little bit far flung from the state capital, places like IMLM, local government, Anambra East and West, that have challenging terrains, Iala, that is still being threatened, by insecurity, Obaru, and some aspects of Onitsha South. And they should, do some more work to ensure that electoral materials, are supplied very timely, in those areas. And I want to assure you that once those things are put in place, and INEC takes the further step to reduce to the barest minimum the unfortunate incidents of vote buying, Anambra State, as usual, is going to showcase a wonderful example on the 8th day of November 2025.
To me now. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I really like the way you broke it down. But there's another message that came in from Oka. He says, "Saz, Madam," and I would like you to respond to that. INEC should be solely responsible for anything that happens in any elections. INEC should cancel elections in any polling unit if rules are broken. INEC is like police to protect robbers from robbing. INEC can cancel elections if they even feel that money is exchanging hands. We should stop shifting blames. Say thank you and God bless. Now, we've talked about, the deep-rooted issues affecting the election climate, especially in Anambra. So how are you going to see it in just 1 minute? How is it going to play out on November 8th?
On those issues enumerated by that person, INEC should not be blameworthy, on all those issues. If you talk about people not coming out to vote, or people coming out to vote, that should not be led at the doorsteps of INEC. Now, when we talk about vote buying, like one of the speakers said before, much orientation, much education, must be put in, must be invested to let people know that they are trading off their future. When you take 3,000 to 5,000 naira, to sell your vote, it means that for the next 3-4 years, that 3,000 to 5,000 naira will continue to define their future. What is important for us in Anambra State for the purposes of November election is one, INEC should endeavor to make sure that electoral materials are sent to those areas I highlighted. Two, INEC should put in place a system that will help us to checkmate the ugly incident of vote buying. Then three, and most important, once elections are concluded, INEC should tidy up the results, give the results to security agents, the party agents that are present, and paste the results on the wall as mandated by the law. Anything short of that, I would say that Anambra gubernatorial election slated for 8 November 2025 shall certainly be what Anambra State is suited for. Peaceful conduct of election, people going out there to exercise their franchise, and the unfortunate incident of Ubai.
Election, that's what we are all hoping for. Now let's come back to the studio as we begin to round up this conversation this morning. Jide Ojo, let's look at what do you think is likely to be the outcome? I mean, let's say the expectation for post, election stability. What has been the situation in the past, and what do you foresee in this coming election?
Well, Debola, the electoral process has three phases. Mm-hmm. We are in the pre-election phase now. Well, November 7, 8
Is
will
the
be in the election
election.
phase, and then post-election
Election, yes.
will be how to manage. But you see, what is very significant is that we, as I was saying in my earlier comment, we need to assign responsibility to all the critical stakeholders that can guarantee peaceful election. You are talking about post-election management. Pre-election, election, security is very important. Anambra, yes, the people are very peaceful. But as our colleague from Oka said, Iyala is still having some security challenge. INEC has instituted what is called Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. This is the time for them to swing into action. Make sure that they do security mapping. All the hotspots, likely hotspots, they should take out the bad boys in those environments so that people can have interest to come out. Chief Ezenwa talked about, Anambra being notorious for low voter turnout. My brother in Oka was talking of vote buying. It's a paradox that there is money to give you, but people are still not coming to collect the money. Because if the issue of vote buying or vote trading that we are trying to elevate is such an issue, and people are poor, and people want free money, they should come out. Then we should be seeing like 50%, 70% voter turnout. I don't know whether you get my drift. But why is it that, despite the fact that there is money to be had for your vote, there is still low voter turnout? So we need to challenge the security agencies, particularly under the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, to do proper work, and then the anti-corruption agencies, EFCC, ICPC, usually deploys, and that's who should be held responsible if there's incidents of vote buying. Because INEC cannot abandon its core responsibility of conducting election to be chasing after who is paying for vote or not.
Jide, I have to pause you there. Let's bring in Ezenwa. What factors would likely decide this election now? In 1 minute, please.
What would decide the election will be the determination of the people to reward or to punish. They can reward the incumbent or punish him and bring in new persons. So the power lies with the voters. But in closing, vote buying is a crime. INEC does not have a police. The police, the security agencies have a responsibility to enforce law and order. And part of their responsibility is to do what Dr. Okrika is talking about. They are the ones to create an environment in which vote buying will not thrive. And so if they shirk that responsibility, let us talk to the vendors. All the vendors, the NURTW should be responsible so that there will be timely, deployment. If they do that, we will be able to then have an election that can worth the while for Anambrarians.
Thank you so much, Ezenwa Nwago, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms. We appreciate your contributions to this conversation. Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. As usual, it's been a pleasure. Mazi, to have you in our studio. And also Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamisu, researcher, political scientist, and public affairs analyst, who joined us via Zoom, but the Zoom network went haywire. Thank you so much for contributing to our conversation this morning. And from Oka, Anambra State, Chubunna Okoli Akirika, a barrister at law and political analyst. We all appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria today. And that's Good Morning Nigeria. I am Juma Yusuf. Do have a wonderful day.
And I'm Adimola. Do have a lovely day.